Let's do it.
Take us
Awesome. So quick introduction. I'm Gil Akos, co-founder and CEO of Astra. You've also got Sam somewhere in this panel of people answering questions, co-founder and COO. A couple of Midwesterners, not traditional technology backgrounds, but we certainly consider ourselves technologists. So I'm going to show a little bit about Astra. I am going to set some context with some slides, and hopefully we can talk about payment architectures at the very end. And then I'm going to do a demo. I think I'm going to break the rules by showing these slides, but I think it's going to be worth it because part of our value proposition is that Astra is really, really easy to integrate with. So it means that the demo part should go very quickly. All right, so is that coming through?
Looks good.
Yeah, okay. All right, so why Astra, right? We're an automation platform for money movement. And key to why we decided to build any technology in this space at all is really, we look at this at the problem space of when there is a new account added to an individual's financial graph, their set of accounts, where they hold funds and where they need to move to or from, there needs to be a layer of functionality that actually adds the capability for that end user to move funds between those accounts and functionalize this graph or network of accounts with some degree of rules, right? So when this condition happens, it should do something like this. A lot of parallels outside of the fintech space would be something like Zapier or IFTTT, in the sense that you're creating a Zap or a little recipe that should say when a condition is met at TD, move some funds over to Schwab or vice versa. So as we started building the kind of underlying automation engine that powers our platform, we came across this sense that it should be really easy to move funds. There are these existing systems like, acronym land of ACH and AFT, but they're both fragile, they're a bit archaic, and it's really a classic iceberg problem. The deeper you go, the more treacherous it is. So you think you need a user interface and ability to execute payments and some notion around KYC, but it's actually all this other stuff below the surface that becomes a blocker to innovation within fintech. So really, it should be simple. In our minds, the ideal platform that moves money between accounts has some key characteristics. Instead of a binary choice around slow and safe and fast and risky, you should actually be able to increase settlement fidelity and speed. So not just like, 4 to 5 business days or next day, but have many more options along the way and should trend more towards fast than slow. Second, you should be able to initiate transfers based on rules. The software should actually be doing work in the background, just like the rest of our digital life. You should be able to say that something should happen when a condition is met and not have to go back and just say, today I want to move $500 between account A and account B. Third, as a developer, this should actually, by interfacing with a system like this, it should reduce your risk, not increase it, right? Just because you want to move funds between 2 parties or 2 accounts doesn't mean that you should have to build up a huge compliance team. So that should be managed for you. And last, most importantly, especially for this demo, it should be easy to implement. So that's the context. I'm going to show the quick step-by-step for how you can actually interface with our platform and go live with money movement in a matter of days, not months. So for starters, just to give you all some orientation here, this is the dashboard as a developer for Astra. You can create clients or applications, get your credentials, create redirect URIs, and we're going to go over 4 steps. Once you have your developer account, it's really, really easy. So the first step is we're going to create what's called a user intent. That is going to pre-register an end user in the Astra system. All happens by way of API in the background. So quick side note, we have these really awesome Postman collections that you can download that have kind of built-in parameters. So you can set up environments and have your API requests kind of pre-built with the values that you have for the environment. So here I'm going to post a user intent. So this is Gil vsum. All right, I got an ID, hooray. So what that means is I can get that user intent and I'm gonna get some values around that end user. And this is the ID I'm gonna need to use. So next is the point where you're going to start interfacing with the end user is going to interface with our system. Our API is 99%, our platform is 99% API driven. So what that means is there's one point where you have to present a screen to the user that looks like this. So this is a example. We built this little demo application for Future Bank as a sample client. So I'm going to agree to some terms for security purposes. As the end user, I'm going to confirm an SMS code. Optionally, I could connect some bank accounts, and then I'm in. So now I've got an authorization code. And so this is a OAuth 2.0 compliant process where the developer can now authenticate Gil with that authorization code. So this access token here is now what's going to govern the vast majority of all the API calls on behalf of Gil, the end user. All right, so now I can, let's say, get the user. All right, he's approved. It's a type personal or some basic information there. And from there, we get to do the fun part. All right, so setting just one more bit of context, which is the sexy part of the demo, is that we get to now set up some routines. Quick note, there are a number of different ways that we offer to link bank accounts into our system. So one, you can use our managed Plaid instance. Two, that can be white labeled. Two, you can use the processor token model through the auth partnership we have with Plaid. So you have your own Plaid integration. You can send that information over to us so we can authorize that account. Or three, if it's an account that you manage, you can create it directly by way of account number and routing number. Once we have that, then it's the fun part, and you get to control all of those routines and the user experience inside of your own application. So as we go back into Postman, I'm going to get some pre-existing accounts. So we're going to jump ahead and assume that the developer has a Plaid integration and that they've provisioned these accounts with the processor token model. To Postman. So if I get the accounts for the user, they're there, I promise. This is always the fun part when you're doing it live.
The only way to know it's live. If it doesn't work the first time, you know this is.
All right. So I'll do the demo. I'm going to connect another account as if you're using our managed workflow. So good old sandbox credentials. Yes. Okay, we're going to assume that that's working. And the next step is that you get to create routines, again, by way of any of these pre-built logical units. So we have a number of options within our docs that you can have a look at. So things like when my balance at the destination account goes below $100, add another $500 in. And then in our system, that's going to continue to run in the background and initiate a transfer whenever it's actually triggered. So last couple items here. What does this mean? If you are a fintech trying to capture funds into your account, so like a neobank scenario, someone like a Fold, that means that you can eliminate origination risk. So again, less risk, not more. Default fast settlement, so as fast as 1 business day. And we have some other options in the pipeline for even faster settlement. You can capture more deposits over time by way of automation. Each one of our automations continues to run over time and generally represents about $1,200 of inbound deposits per user per month. And you can go live very easily in days, not months. So just to set the context for the breakout room, I want to touch on the difference between what we call origination versus orchestration. The original model is that you're going to originate transactions through your sponsor bank. Again, we're focusing on the neobank scenario. So that looks like, someone like Fold talking to their sponsor bank. They're doing a single one-way pull by way of the ACH debit. And that means it's good. The outside source is an RDFI, their sponsor bank's the ODFI, originating that ACH debit, and then it trickles back up and updates the ledger at Fold. Astra is a fundamentally different payment architecture in that Fold is talking to our API directly, one layer up in the network of accounts. We talk to the bank, create an ACH debit, and then an ACH credit into their sponsor bank, which then trickles up as a ledger. So it gives us a higher degree of fidelity around how fast the transfers should go and what should happen when through the full life cycle of the payment. And that's why we call it orchestration. So with that, I want to say thank you. Looking forward to all your questions in the chat and in the breakout rooms. And I'll turn it back over.